So we are going to talk about conflict and nature of conflict and how to resolve a conflict. So what do we consider a problem or a conflict? Problem is something which I had an expectation. I had a framework, a mind, a pattern which I believed would happen and that didn't happen. That is a problem, right? I expected the problem software which I had done would work, but it didn't work. So it's a problem. It's a conflict, right? What happens in relationship? What happens in relationship is when I expect something and that expectation does not materialize, then it's a conflict, right? So I have some expectations. I have some understanding and some based on my experience, my observation, I expect something and that is not fulfilled. So that is what I call as a problem. So if you analyze the problem in a holistic manner, so it is not the cause who has caused the problem. If you go into that angle, then there would be a million reasons why I'm in problem or why I'm in conflict. It could be my mother-in-law, it could be my boss, it could be my neighbor, it could be anybody. So once we go into that direction, which is outward direction, uh, it would be the analysis and the information that would come would be so huge that I would not be able to handle it. So when I go internal, like which is an entity that got hurt, right? And if I can fix that entity, then the entire problem gets solved, right? It's not like I fix my boss, I can fix my mother-in-law, I can fix the environment. Fixing an environment is impossible. But if you get into the inner dimension, like which is the entity that got hurt. So once we go into that angle, not which was the reason or which is a cause for conflict, but who is the entity which got hurt, then we'll go into a dimension called self-knowledge. What is self-knowledge? Knowledge is information about something. What is self-knowledge? Knowledge about myself. So unless a person has self-knowledge, then he would always get into conflict because he has not understood himself. So when he has not understood himself, whatever the impressions he has, the illusion about himself will be right. So I can think myself as the greatest negotiator. I can think myself as a great person who loves peace and may end up fighting with everybody. So, so whatever I think about myself cannot be a self-knowledge. It could be an illusion about myself, right? Based on certain comfort or certain background, I may come to some conclusions about me, right? I have a car, I have money, so I will come to a conclusions. Once you remove that, right, my opinion about myself will change. So, so how do I get into the true self knowledge and what is the real in me? Not the way like the Eastern philosopher would like to believe, like I'm not a Brahman, right? I'm not a Brahman, or I am God. Those are the tricks employed by the philosophers. Let us not get into philosophy. So, who am I? Not in a philosophical sense that what am I? That's a fundamental question, right? In the process of self-knowledge, I should know who am I. So, if you look at who am I, so I have a body, obviously. I have a mind, obviously, and during the sleep, the body continues to operate, even though my mind is sleeping. So basically, the neurosystems, my hearts, my lungs, my kidneys function in spite of me or my mind. What I call me is my mind. So there's some other part. So we can call it as energy or we can call it as life. And we have emotions. So these are the four things which consists of me. I have a body which is gross and which listens to me. When I say lift the hand, it will lift the hand. And I have a mind, and I have an emotion, and I have energy. So once you see in that way, the gross part would be what is called my body. I have some control over it. If I say walk, it will walk. And then we go to mind, right? So mind may or may not listen to me. So it cannot stop my thoughts, but it can say, let us do our work. The mind can sit and work on it, right? So we have the more control a person has over his mind, the more peaceful he is. And emotion is related to the mind. So energy is almost impossible to control. We Because it is that something which the life force, right? It controls me. It goes on and on in spite of me. So I have no control over it, but it controls everything. It controls my kidney, it controls my neurosystem, it controls everything. That is like the energy which flows in me. So once that life force goes, that's my body and has no relevance. So we won't talk about the energy part. So we'll start with the body. So what is a body? What is a physical body? And what is a mind? Body, once we keep it healthy, the body is not a problem. It doesn't create a problem for me. Right? Conflict is not due to the body. Conflict, if it is due to the body, because I would have maintained it badly. I may have an backache, I may have a knee pain, I may have a tooth problem. This is because I didn't maintain the body properly. Assuming I maintain that body properly and everything is fine, then body has is not an issue to me. And what is an issue? The issue can be only the mind. So what is mind? Probably few billion million books have been written about mind, right? So as a layman, not as a philosopher, what is mind? I can remember certain things, right? I can remember my name. I can remember what happened yesterday. So mind should have some memory, right? So in what we call as Sanskrit or the Vedic culture, we call that we divide the mind into components. Like you have buddhi, you have manas, you have siddha, you have ahankar. Ahankar, the grossly translated into ego. Buddhi is an intellect, right? You observe by comparison. So 70, what is 70? Is 70 a good mark or a bad mark? We don't know, right? So the intellect will say, we'll compare it. If it is with 80, then we got a bad mark. If you compare it to 60, we have a good mark. So ability to decipher for the intellect is through comparison. So intellect will discriminate and come to a conclusion. It will dissect and it will come to a conclusion. It's a logical part of the brain. Buddhi. Manas is nothing but the memory, right? I can remember yesterday, I can remember what I ate day before yesterday, but I may not remember what I ate last week. But that is stored in my memory. So we call it as manas. And ahankar. Ahankar is roughly translated into ego, but that is my behavior. That's what I am, right? So, and this entire stuff is called Siddha. The Siddha is what you call the consciousness will have a buddhi, it will have an, which is intellect, it will have memory, and it will have the ahankar, ego, which acts. So, how does the ego act? So, through identifications, right? The buddhi will identify itself with something. So once it identifies itself with the memory, right, then the ego will act based on that. So a memory of what I am, my race, my religion, my caste, my community, all that would influence how I act, right? And all my intellect would be hijacked by that identification of me with that my memory. I belong to a particular religion, and that religion is great. So I go to temple 4 times, I pray. I go to mosque and I pray 4 times. So that is my conditioning, right? Which is part of my memory. So I eat a particular kind of food, and for me that is sacred. And when I belong to the another religion, for them that food may not be sacred. That may be holy to them. So all this identification, the ego comes from the basis of identification with the memory, which is nothing but the memory consists of all the conditioning, all what you have gone through, what all you have seen, what all you have been influenced upon through books, through movies, through your bringing up. All the observation and the conclusion is stored in manas, and which is memory. And the memory goes, there's like conscious mind, subconscious mind. So it goes back. So all the imprints, not only of mine, but also my previous, my father's, my grandfather's, great grandfather, all that are stored as a genetic, through genetics. We call that something as a genetic center. So genetic center would be the accumulation of the entire humanity from amoeba to where I am now. So all that would be stored in my genetic center. So once I identify myself with my memory, the intellect would be its slave. So once the ahankar identify itself with my group, my race, my tribe, then the buddhi will always prove that that race, that community, that that individual, that race, that caste, that community is the superior one. It will use all the logic in this world to convince itself. So this is mind. So what happens during a conflict? I have a belief. Right? I have a belief that I have an image. I have a certain image about myself, and I have a certain image about others. So what happens when something happens to my image? I think I'm good, I'm patient, I'm peaceful, I'm non-violent. And then somebody comes and questions me on my act. So once I'm inefficient or I'm not able to sufficiently handle that problem, right? What happens? My image about myself gets broken. Suppose I have an image about myself that I'm calm. A situation happens which breaks my image. So that is what I call as conflict. So anytime my expectations, my conclusions, my experience, based on my experience, my conclusion, my beliefs are questioned by somebody, then I'm in conflict with that person, right? So that is conflict. So that is a source for conflict, is my identification with my conclusions, with my beliefs. So what happens in the conflict? In the conflict, I feel I am right because based on my conclusions, my observation, my knowledge, based on my memory, I am right. But when a person says that, no, no, sir, I don't agree to your God, I don't believe in your God, I believe in my God, then what happens is my belief is threatened, my conclusions. How can I be wrong? That person is wrong, right? So that is the source of conflict. But it's not what is right or what is wrong. It's that it's only the conflict between my belief and his belief. It's not between whether the sun rises in the east or west. There would be no conflict on that, right? The conflict can never be on factual data, right? We can never have a debate or a conflict about what is the capital of United States of America, right? We can have only conflict about my tribe, my conclusions, My my club. Obviously, my club is superior than your club, right? My God is more sacred than your God, right? My opinions are more important than your opinions, right? Because I'm always right, right? So it's just the conclusions, my belief, and the life will always, the life, if you see the life as a holistic way, my opinion, my conclusions, which are a limited entity, is bound to get crushed by the environment. You can call it life, you can call it environment, whatever. The way the life operates is whatever position I may be, whatever position I may be, there will be a stage in my life when all my conclusion and all my beliefs are going to get shattered. It's a question of time. I may be in a better position economically, so I may be able to control my environment to a limit, but that conclusions, my beliefs can be crumbled or crushed by my spouse, right? What I may be the CEO of a company, but there would be a stage where I will hit a wall. However, I try, because a wall is something which is unbreakable, and the environment has created them. I cannot break it. It is just like I'm trapped. All my conclusions, all my beliefs, all my intelligence cannot remove that block. I'm trapped. I'm totally helpless. This is a state everyone will go through. It doesn't matter whether you are a poor or a rich or you are a prime minister or you are a nobody or you are somebody from a small family. It doesn't matter. The way the life operates is whatever conclusion, whatever belief, whatever I may think, whatever book I may have read and come to a conclusion, that is bound to get shattered. And I would be in a state where I would be trapped. I would not, I would not have any way of escape from the conflict. It's trapped. So this is what I call a prison. I am trapped in a prison, and the prison is of my own making. So how do I escape from this? Is there a way? Is there a guide? Is there a savior? Is there a guru? Is there a book which can take me out of this? That is the entire gamut of books, the gurus, the philosophies, everyone offer. The entire market is filled to which promises you to take or remove you or provide a way out of this conflict. If you see all the books written, all the self-help book, you are stuck and you want to get out and you are not able to get it. Right? If you are able to get out of it, you would never need a book. You would never need a guru, right? You are stuck somewhere and you are helpless. You are totally helpless. And you don't see a way out. Right? You don't see a way out of it. So the thought, which has moved in a direction, has come to a stop because it cannot move further. Because it's stuck, it doesn't know what to do. Right? It is ambitious. I wanted to become rich, so I did certain things. Now I reached a phase I'm trapped. Whether my personal life or my professional life or whatever, I'm trapped. So do I get used to this world? Somebody told. I have read it. The world smells and you have to get used to the smell. Something like that. That is, you have to get used to it. So how do I get used to it? See, it sucks. Yeah, the world sucks. You have to get used to it. So this is a philosophy which most of the people who are above 40 will come to a conclusion. I cannot change my mother-in-law. I cannot change my boss. I have to get used to it, right? When you are young, there's an energy to change, to break free, right? And after some time, you try, and come to a conclusion. No, nothing can be done. What happens to this mind, right? The question is, what happens to the mind which was trying to break, right? It was seeking freedom, right? And ultimately, what I want is freedom from these shackles. But it was stopped, right? Either it was stopped for any reason. could be your money, it could be your relationship, but it has been blocked and I see a no way out. So what I do is that I try to get out of the situation through books, through gurus, through stones, the stones they wear. You wear one sapphire, it will change your life, right? You change your building. There's something called Vastu. I don't know whether you have heard of. In India, you have Vastu. If you change the way the building looks, your life will change, right? Your entire gamut. The salespeople have come with the entire shiny things. Once which you touch you, a silver bullet, right? Which will change you. It will make you an amazing person. Your life will become amazing from tomorrow. But that has never worked out, right? It has never worked out. So what? So what happens when you stay in that state, right? What your mind doesn't want to stop, right? It is seeking an escape. So what happens? Either once a thought, a mind which is trapped, right? It cannot escape out either through books, through using books, or through gurus, or God, even God. It tried to escape itself through pleasure, right? After a heavy work, you go and have a small bit of alcohol and you relax, right? I'm not speaking in a derogatory manner, right? Don't get me wrong. That's what is happening, right? You go to a pub, you have a drink. Why are people doing it? Because at the end of the day, you have come to a state where you're totally tired, right? You're tired. The environment has got on you. You're not able to get out, and you're accepted. You come to a conclusion, and the thought goes into another direction, right? It goes into the pleasure mode. So thought which was functional, which was working in a functional area, in an environment. What I mean a functional area is your work, the world. What I mean the function is the world, like building a rocket or working in a company or working in a supermarket. Nothing, there's nothing high or small in it. Just work. It's functional area. So when you got trapped into that, the thought goes into the another mode, right? It goes into the pleasure mode, right? It seeks pleasure either through alcohol, through music, or through God, or through pornography. So basically, it is trying to escape. It is trying to escape the prison in which it is. So what happens when it moves into the pleasure zone? There also you feel high, and then you again go back to the prison. It is just like you go out of the prison for 10 minutes, again you come to the prison, right? But you feel good, that obviously. And once you come back to the prison, the problem is going after this intoxications. Is that once you come back, right, you feel even more bad because somewhere you have tasted a small escape from this prison through drugs, through alcohol, through sex, whatever. So it becomes addictive, right? You get addicted to it. And what happens, as in any addiction, as you go through it, right, you need more dosage because once you come back, right, the prison will appear more bad. So you'll go back and come back, and the prison will appear more bad. So you have to go for a larger and a bigger dosage because you're coming back to the same prison. So what happens? You go for the thought is trapped now. It goes into the functional area. It wants to do good in this world. It wants to have a wonderful married life. It wants to have a good relationship with your parents. Everything. Something goes wrong, right? The environment or the life has put a block to that thought. So it takes another route, the route of pleasure, because pleasure is something which is in its control, at least in its control. Like I may not able to control my boss, I may have no control over my external environment. But having a peg, right? It is in my hand, right? I can go and drink and feel good about it, right? So the thought goes because it has more control. At least it can control the pleasure part of it. What happens when it goes over that part? You have, I'm not talking about the moral values, like drinking is bad for humanity, or a Catholic sense of, or a Christianity sense of morality. You should not look upon. I mean, you should not have illicit affairs. I'm not talking about that. What happens to the mind as such? Right? It feels guilt. It feels frustrated. It feels trapped. So same trapping that happened there happens here. So it doesn't matter whether the thought has gone in functional area or it has gone into the pleasure zone, seeking God. The escape is not possible in either direction, either in your work functionally or your pleasure zone, seeking God, going after God. You don't get anywhere. Even in that part, you end up being frustrated. So that is the state of, right?